time, I am going to bring on Dr. Grace, dear friend of mine and a correspondent to Freedom Friday. She is the culture and politics editor of worldtribune.com, theworldtribune.com. She's also the host of American Heartland with Dr. Grace, and as I said, dear friend of mine. And Dr. Grace, I'm so glad that you can be with us almost every Friday. You always have a lot to bring to us, and I know one of the things I want you to talk about, because this has been huge news, but not so much in the mainstream, but in the alternative news and in some mainstream, but it really is huge and should be discussed more by the media, but it's not, and that is Matt Drudge was on Alex Jones, surprised Alex Jones, walked into the studio, gave a mind-bending interview about what the inside scoop he has, and he's famous for having inside government scoop. He has inside scoop that the internet may soon be seized and sites like his will be summarily shut down. Give us everything you know about that.
Well, Carl, it's one of those remarkable stories that really should be talked about consistently and thoroughly across the cable news networks, and it hasn't been, and I've been discussing it and raising alarms about it because I think Matt Drudge is now crying in the wilderness, and it deserves a lot more attention and a lot more focus. It's extremely important. Matt Drudge is essentially, ironically, an old-style journalist, even though he created such a new website. Old-style in the sense that he has a vocation. That vocation is to just dig up dirt. He says, as he famously once said, he goes where the stink is. Yeah. And he doesn't care if that is Democrats or Republicans. He's out to find the salacious stories, the stories of corruption, and his website has soared to popularity, making him not only wildly rich, but also one of the most influential media players of our time.
Yes.
And his website has been an incredible thorn in the side of the Clinton administration and also of the Obama administration. So the Drudge Report is a remarkable website, even in another sense. It's a place where all of us we congregate, right? I mean, I know I get up in the morning, one of the first things I do is check Drudge, and there's millions of people who do the same thing, and millions of like-minded people who do the same thing, and that means that he brings attention to key stories and basically has an army of folks in the media that then give even more weight and credence to those stories. He basically, in many ways, has set the news agenda for the last over a decade now.
Let me break in and let me just boost what you're saying. I know for a fact, I've heard Rush Limbaugh. I've watched him on his little, his webcam. He has Drudge Report open before him at all times during his show. Fox News. I've listened to Fox News before. I've heard them go down their talking points. Then I go to Drudge, and I realize they're getting their talking points straight off of the Drudge Report. And then all during Fox News, they will often refer. Well, Drudge is saying, on the Drudge Report, and it's amazing. You're right. He sets the agenda and the talking points for mainstream major media.
For mainstream media, and even the liberals have been they've been forced to go to his site because he's one of the first that breaks news, basically. Now, what does he do? He doesn't write any stories himself. He doesn't have a team of journalists, but he scours the web thoroughly. And in fact, I know a lot about him because I have some insights. I knew someone very, very close to him, and they've been to his mansion. Basically, he has a computer literally in every room of the house. He has a computer even in the bathroom. Essentially, this is a 24/7 job. And now he's got a staff helping him. As he made more money, he got a staff to do the same thing. He is scouring every website in the country and even some international sites to get the best stories out there as quick as possible. Mm-hmm. And what he's created is, I once said this, and my husband sort of laughed, he's created kind of like the Italian piazza. In Italy, people get up in the morning and they all go to the center square and they have a cup of coffee and they all talk about the latest news. And he's done that in the internet. It's like the Italian piazza. We get up in the morning, we all go there like, what's breaking? What's breaking? What's breaking? It's all what's breaking on Drudge. It's not. We don't even have to say what's breaking, where we're going to look. I wake up and say, hey, Jeff, what's breaking? And I mean, what's breaking on Drudge? So
Right.
so it's so what has he said on this interview that is so shocking, that is so alarming, that everybody needs to be aware of? He said that he had an encounter with a Supreme Court justice, and that Supreme Court justice said, "Matt, you're done. We have the votes to shut you down." Now, how are they going to do that? Apparently, they're going to use a backdoor to shut down something like the Drudge Report, which is basically to say that because he's a news aggregate, he's infringing on various copyright laws, because he's not actually creating anything new in terms of news except some blazing, fabulous headlines, which he's very, very good at.
Right.
But he's not actually creating new news stories, so they're going to try to shut him down by saying that this is illegal because he's infringing on the websites from which he gets the breaking news content, and that's what they're going to use to shut him down.
Yeah.
And he was quite pessimistic about his chances to survive that, because he actually said, well, I've had a hell of a run, meaning he's anticipating that they will probably succeed in shutting him down.
Yeah, and the heartbreaking thing about that is a lot of those websites are depending. I mean, they promote their stories to Drudge, because once Drudge posts it, their stories go viral and they make mega money. So he really is doing them an amazing service. And if they take Drudge down, a lot of those sites are going to go away too.
Carl, you've raised an outstanding and very important point, and that's why he's seen, although I said he's an old-style journalist, he's the one that basically created the new media almost single-handedly, because he would find these amazing stories on unknown blogs, and then he would link to the blog, and suddenly there would be so many people going to that specific blog that their websites would crash. And I know in the news business, even if we're working at a major news organization like the Washington Times, if we got a link on Drudge, I mean, we would literally be screaming in euphoria. It's like the gold standard. So it's an achievement, because it means that's one of the best stories of the day, and then it means you get a ton of traffic, which means as a journalist, your profile shoots way up. And I can tell you, my career was almost single-handedly launched by Drudge, who linked to one of my articles, and my name just went national. Oh,
listen, same thing has happened to me. I've been on Drudge several times because of stories through W&D and, Christian Post, and I was even on Fox News website one time, a story, and Drudge picked that up. And so my name has gone all over the world because of Matt Drudge.
You got it. So now, why is this so alarming and so dangerous? It's because he has empowered all of these blogospheres that are working independently, that are doing good work, and so many of us, have been in opposition to the establishment, whether it be rhinos or Democrats. And essentially, if we don't have a place to congregate, we will all be dispersed like seeds in the wind. And they know that. In fact, Obama has said many times that he can't stand Drudge. They even tried to create an alternative to Drudge, and the left wing has, and it hasn't worked.
No, it won't.
It hasn't worked.
No,
Drudge is an original, and he's an original because he has a vocation, he has a nose for news, and you can't manufacture that.
And speaking of that, think about it, Dr. Grace. Left-wing talk radio doesn't work. The alternative to left-wing Drudge didn't work. Left-wing television doesn't work. So, so the only way the left wing can get anything they want is through judicial activism. That's it. And executive orders. What did Obama say? I have a pen and a phone. Yeah, that's because you won't use Congress. I mean,
bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo. They want to subvert the will of the people and the majority of the people through judicial activism or through illegal executive actions. You nailed it. And because Drudge, I mean, he's had a huge success in the marketplace. As I said, he's wealthy beyond imagination. And yet, the wealth, he's remained kind of aloof from the powers that be. So many people who become wealthy, you know what they say? They're like, they went to clean the sauna, but they joined the cesspool. He never joined the cesspool.
Yeah.
No, I think I got that in. They went to clean the cesspool and they joined the sauna.
Yeah. No, I understood your illustration. It was great.
It was Matt Drudge who made his name. He made his career by breaking the Monica Lewinsky story that so engulfed
the blue dress.
Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
And he now went on the air and said that the media is not reporting all the information about, quote-unquote, Hillary's lovers with an S.
Yes.
and that there's a cover-up going on there. So he didn't get more specific than this. I wish he had, because I've heard so many rumors, and I don't want to talk about it on the air unless they're corroborated and they're known for sure. But having lived in D.C. for so many years, I heard all about Hillary's quote-unquote lovers, and I wish he would have come out with strong information about that. But now he's laid down a challenge. He's basically saying to the mainstream media and to the media at large, there are so many skeletons in that closet. Go there.
Yeah. That's amazing. So
it's amazing, and you know why it's important, Carl? It's not just because this is tabloid journalism. It's important because Hillary, basically, her name rose to fame and her poll numbers shot up after the Monica Lewinsky affair because so many women saw her, and this is bizarre to me, but they sympathized with her and they saw her as a heroine of some kind, right? The victim that stood by the husband, etc., for the greater good. And well, if that's not true, if she and he had what amounts to an open marriage all these years, it's going to add more to the declining females who are supporting her. You know, she's losing female support now in droves, and there may be some hangers-on who are going to be disgusted by Hillary Clinton's inauthenticity and political calculation, even when it comes to her marriage, with already percolating out there. But if there's some hard evidence that emerges, it could add even more nails to this coffin of hers.
Yeah. That is amazing, and I also have heard a lot of the same rumors, and for the same reasons that you articulated, I have not brought them to the radio and tried to expound upon them because I cannot corroborate them, but apparently Matt Drudge either can or thinks he can, and knows or thinks he knows the details of it, and he's encouraging and urging the mainstream media to deal with it. But no, they won't. Instead, they focus on Donald Trump. Tell us about that.
Yes, so the media doesn't want to probe into Hillary Clinton's private life, but Donald Trump's private life is fair game. And they put together a piece which is really surprising, shocking. According to their own values, it would be shocking. Like if I were a liberal and I read this, I would be horrified because they're calling this Melania Trump the silent partner. And Melania Trump was a very accomplished model before she met Donald Trump. And she's a woman that knows 7 languages, etc. She's got credentials, let's say, and yet, and she was also very provocative in her posing. You know, she's been very sexually explicit in many different ways. So, if I'm a liberal, Melania Trump is kind of like an icon of the sexual revolution, right?
You would think.
You would think, but no. And also, if I'm a liberal, Donald Trump is an icon of the sexual revolution.
Believe it or not, yes.
Affairs, multiple, women left, right, and center, a child out of wedlock with Marla Maples, and he married her. I mean, that they would be celebrating all that as a sexual renegade who is, breaking down Victorian, old-fashioned Victorian taboos and Christian standards. No, instead, they're basically saying in this piece that Melania Trump is nothing other than a mannequin. She's basically just eye candy, and she's just a trophy on his arm. They didn't use that specific word, but they were implying that all she is a trophy to him. And they're basically trying to just tear her and him down, and what they did was they used this Melania Trump story, say, well, why is she not getting more exposure? Why is Donald Trump not talking about her? Why is he not featuring her? But the real reason they wanted to bring up his current wife is to talk about his past. And the rest of the article is all about how he had an adulterous affair on his first wife, how his first wife confronted his mistress very famously, how then that marriage ended up in smoke, how Marla Maples got pregnant, then he married her, now he's on his third wife. So in other words, they're trying to say, well, Donald Trump has like eye candy on his arm now, so his wife is an airhead that we should completely discount, let alone the fact that she was actually a very prominent model before he met her. And they're just using all of that to try to remind voters about his salacious past when it comes to women. Now, like I said...
You've got 20 seconds.
Okay, what I find surprising is I've been saying as a conservative, his private life, as a Christian and a conservative, his private life raises all kinds of questions and issues that I do want him to address.
Yeah.
And I just nonetheless want to point out that from the left-wing media, this is utter hypocrisy. Donald Trump's private life is being looked at, but not Hillary Clinton's. Give me a break.
Yeah.